Okay, now let's go to the next topic, that is the CSS layout. Okay, so for what is a layout? I have already mentioned you this in the HTML part also. So presenting your data in a very neat and in a really a presentable way with the help of this layout. Okay, please keep this in mind. You should always present your data or the content of your website in a really a very neat manner. It should not be clumsy, or it should not be very disgusting to read. Okay, it should be always readable for the users. For that, always keep this word layout in your mind. Always be careful about or always be conscious about this layout. Okay, always make use of the layout in CSS to present your data, okay, in a tabular way. You can even take this layout as a tabular way, but when you say tabular, that doesn't mean stable, but it's just a tabular way which says that only in this part the heading should be there, in this part the content should be there, in this part the article should be there, the footer should be there, and all. When we were talking in the HTML, we add our parts in layout like header, then a side, then article, footer, like so. These were the layout parts, right? So inside, what's a layout? A layout is totally this only. So always present your data in some or the other order so that it will be really readable, and the user will feel free and easy to read your data. Okay, always follow the CSS layout, or always have this concept of layout in your mind before presenting your data in the website. Okay, so for this in CSS, we'll make use of the position property. Okay, the position property specifies the type of positioning method used for an element. Okay, so here there are 4 different position values. Okay, the first one is the static, the second one is the relative. One second, it's relative. Okay, the third one is the fixed, and the fourth one is absolute. Okay, so these 4 are the values for this property position. So with the help of these 4 values, we are going to give different positioning properties to the content in the website. So we'll even see the explanation for these things, and even we'll see some examples for this also. Elements are positioned using the top, bottom, left and right properties. Okay, however, these properties will not work unless the position property is set first. Please do keep this in mind. You should always set the position property first. Okay, they also work differently depending on the position value. So let's go on for the first one, that is the position static. So HTML elements are positioned static by default. So this is the default value. Okay, so why by default? If you see by default, when you without giving any style, you just give some content, it will be always static itself. So it's a default value. There's no relative or fixed or absolute. It's not default, but only static is default. Static position elements are not affected by the top, bottom, left and right properties. An element with position static is not positioned in any special way. It is always positioned according to the normal flow of the page. Okay, please keep this on mind. So now let's see an example for this also, and let's see how it works. Okay, so let's go here. Let's remove this style property and the code. Let's start it freshly. Okay, so this is the basic structure of the HTML, right? So in this we are going to make use of the static position and understand what is the static all about. Okay, so for this, first let's have an H tag or the heading of H2. Okay, I will write position static. Okay, and then I will even have an P tag inside this. In this I'll write, this is a paragraph for defining static position in CSS layout. Okay, so this is the content, and now I will even have another div tag inside this. Okay, and I'll give a class name for this, and let's give it as static itself. Okay, so this, let's write this div tag as position static. Okay, so these are the contents ready with us. Now let's give some position to this uh, element which has the class name as static. So let's write it. So div dot then the class name that is static. Okay. And inside the curly braces I will write position and inside that I will write static. Okay. So now let's run this. Okay. Okay, see here, it's by default a normal output because as we have told it will be in a static format, right? There will be no ups and downs. It will be really very by default output. Okay, so this is about static. So where will you use the static? Where you feel no, this should not be moved at any places. This should not be given any editing. In such places, we'll make use of this static value. Okay. Now let's go to the second one, that is the relative. The element with position relative is positioned relative to its normal position. Okay, setting the top, right, bottom and left properties of the relatively positioned element will cause it to be adjusted away from its normal position. Other content will not be adjusted to fit into any gap left by the element. Okay, so by it will adjust its own self. Now let's even see a small example on this and understand what is this. Okay, so I'll have another div tag. Okay, I'll write your class name as relative. Okay, and this div tag as position relative. Okay, so now we'll give position as relative. Okay, wait. So let's give that div dot the class name that is relative. Okay, and inside the curly braces I will write position relative. Okay, now first let's see the output so that I can explain you the difference. Okay, so see, now there's nothing like, even this is looking like a normal one. Why? And now what are we going to do so that it will be looking like relative? I have already told you in static, the top, bottom, left, right, these all things will not reflect here in the static. But when it's about the relative, it will always reflect. So I'm going to give a left or right, something like that, and I'm going to show you what is relative. So for static, if I give left, it will not move towards the left, or it will not move towards the right, or it will not do any changes. But if I write relative and I'm going to give a left as 30 pixel, then from left it will move towards the right for 30 pixel. Okay, now let's see that. So left and I'll write 30 pixel. Okay, now let's run this. See, it has moved for 30 pixel. So when I will give it for the static, there will be no changes. But when I gave it for the relative, it just moved for 30 pixels. So this is the difference. Okay, you can adjust it as you need. Okay, in this relative, there's nothing like no, this will be default. It will not move here and there. No, you can adjust it as per the need or as per your website needs it. Okay. Now the third one is fixed. Now what is fixed? An element with position fixed is position relative to the viewport, which means it always stays in the same place even if the page is scrolled. The top, right, bottom and left properties are used to position the element. A fixed element does not leave a gap in the page where it would normally have been located. Okay, now let's see an example on scrolling, fixed position. Okay, and understand it. I have already told you when you keep the position as fixed, even if you scroll your web page, the content in the fixed node or specified as position as fixed will not move or scroll up and down. So let's see how it works. Okay, for that, let's just copy paste this content so that we can make our page scrollable. Okay, so now let's run this, whether see whether it's becoming scrollable or not. Okay, now it's scrollable. So now I'm going to fix some content in the corner, that is the bottom corner, right corner over here. I'm going to first fix some content. So when I fix a content over here, then when I scroll down, that content will not scroll up or will not get disappear, or nothing will happen. It will just stay over there very fixed. Okay, it will not even move for even a just for a small point also. Okay, so now let's see. For this I'm going to create a div tag and I'm going to give the class name as fixed. Okay, and I'll write this div tag as position fixed. Okay, Now in the style I'm going to give that fixed position, div dot fixed, and in the curly braces I write position fixed. Okay, and for this now what we are supposed to do, see here in the when it was about static and relative, even if we just gave position static and position relative, we got the output. But in this fixed we can't do that. You are supposed to even give position on, in the sense that where should this be fixed, in which place or in which axis or which position. So I told you, right, bottom. So for that also I will give the properties like bottom and right and all. Okay, why? Then only it will be getting a position. Okay, it will be knowing that okay, this is the position where I'm supposed to be fixed. Okay, so for that, if you are not giving it, then you will not be able to see the output. So for that also I'll write bottom 0 and right as 0, because I want it in the right corner, right bottom corner. So now when I run this, I'll be able to see the content, that this div tag as the position fixed in this bottom, and it will not move. Let's save this and let's run it. See, I have got it already. This div tag as position. See, whether even if you move it right to left or left to right, it will be anything, it will not move. Even if I scroll it, it will not move. It's because we have given the position as fixed. So the position is fixed. Even if you scroll from top to bottom or left to right or right to left, it will not at all move. But please do remember, you're supposed to even give this bottom and right, or where the place where you're supposed to fix it. Those also should be given, else the output, you will not be able to see the output. So this is the difference. In static, it is no left, right, bottom, top will be applied. Okay, so there will be no any changes if you apply. When it is about the relative, you can adjust it as you need with the help of the top, right, left, bottom properties. And when it's about the fixed, when it is about fixed, you should always give the position, and as well as where should it be fixed, that position, that is the bottom, right, left, top, those properties should also be given. Okay, this is about the fixed. Now let's go to the next one, that is the absolute. Now when you hear the word absolute, what comes in your mind? So let's see what is absolute, and then I will even show you some examples of it. Position absolute, an element with position absolute is position relative to the nearest position ancestor, instead of position relative to the viewport like fixed. Okay, however in an absolute, position elements has no position ancestors. It uses the document body and moves along while with page scrolling. Okay, so note here, it just gets moves along with it. Okay, the position element is one whose position is anything except static. It's anything except static. Please do remember this. Now let's see an example for this and even understand this. Okay, so for this I'll again create another one. Okay, div tag, and in this I'll write class is equals to absolute. Okay, this, and I'll write to contain this div tag as position absolute. Okay, now let's give some properties over here. Okay, in this I write div dot absolute. Inside the curly braces I will write, first one is that position. I've already told you it without first specifying the position you can't do this. Okay, so always first the position should be set. Okay, position as absolute. Okay, and in this I'll write let's take it top as 80 pixel. Okay, and then I want it the right, from right it should be of course 0 pixel. Okay, and then the let's even give width for it, which should be 200 pixel. Okay, and height should be 10 pixel. Okay, let's even give some border for this so that you can see the output more clearly. I will write 3 pixel. Let's have a solid one of color green. Okay, so now let's run this. See, we got it. Okay, why? See, now what's the difference between the fixed and the absolute? Okay, so here when you saw an element with position absolute is position relative to the nearest position ancestors. Okay, ancestors. So here see, I have given a border and then a content, so it will be really positioned here, and when it was about the fixed one, it was not moving when I just scrolled it up, down, left, right. But when it's an absolute, it will just move like the other one. This absolute can be applied in any content apart from the static ones. Okay, you can't use this for the static one. Okay, so please always remember this point. An element with position absolute is position relative to the nearest position ancestors. Okay, please don't forget this point of absolute. Okay, so this is the difference over here. You can place it anywhere as you feel. Okay, by just giving the top, right, left, bottom and on, and you can position it anywhere, and this will scroll along with the content also. So now what's the use for these four types? When it's about static, I've told you, when you feel no, this should be in this position only and it should not be scrollable or moving, something like that. And when it is relative, you can adjust it as you need it. And when it comes on fixed, in some website you would have seen, right? Even if you scroll, some of the offers or some of the deals or some of the important things will be always fixed. It will not just get disappear. In such place, you can make use of this fixed one. And as I told you, absolute is really same as that, but you can't use for static ones. Okay, always make use like this. So it will be always positioned nearest to the relative ones. Okay, so these are the four types or four values for the position property. Okay, now we are done with the first property, that is the position. When it's about the layout, we are even supposed to know the two more properties of CSS layout. So the second and the third property is float and clear. Okay, the float property specifies whether or not the element should float. Okay, whether the element should float or should not float, something like that will be in float property. And when it's about the clear property is used to control the behavior of that floating element. So this will tell you how what will be the behavior of the floating element. Okay, so for that, now we'll understand what is the float property, and then we'll go for clear. And after that, we'll even see another one, that is clear fix. Okay, so this will be conjoined with these two. Okay, so this is not a property. Let's take it as a property only, but it's some of other kinds. Okay, we'll even learn about that clear fix also. Now let's see a small example of float property and understand what is it. Okay, in its simplest use, the float property can be used to just wrap the text around the image. This is the simplest definition for this, to wrap the text around the image. Okay, so now let's see an example. Okay, we'll just delete all these things and let's start it freshly as we always do it. Okay, so I am back to the basic structure of the HTML. Now let's see an example for the float. Okay, for this I will have a p tag first, and I'll write this is a paragraph tag. Okay, for float property and CSS layout. Okay, so this is a p tag. Now I will even have another p tag with a wide bigger content. Okay, p, and let's even just copy paste this. Okay, now it's really a big content. Okay, so now what I want is, I want let's save this and run this, so I'll tell you easily. So I want an image over here or in the between this p tag. Okay, so we will decide whether to give a float. Now what is a float? I've already told you, float in simplest way is wrapping the text around the image. So now in this p tag, I'm going to have an image tag, and I'm going to link an image over here, and we'll wrap that content, or we'll give a floating float to that image. Okay, so for that I will make use of the bgimage.jpg. Okay, so inside this I'll write image src is equals to bg image.jpg. Okay, and I give alt also bg image. Okay, and I want its width to be of 100 only, and I dash 140. Okay, now let's run this. See, I got 10 more. Now, when you see, this is not wrapped, okay? So, there is no float given here. See why? When it's a float, this image will be wrapped, or the content will be wrapped around this image. But is this content wrapped? No, this is starting from the end, right? So, this is not right. So, when the property for this is float is equals to none. Okay, but when we want to give some sorry, I told float, float is equals to nothing is given, right? But when I want to give some floating properties, I'll write float is equals to right, or float is equals to left. Then the content will be wrapped in right or in the left, something like that. So now let's give float is equals to right. So when float is right, the image will be in the right side and the content will be in the left side. Okay, so left side of the website will have the content wrapped with which will be wrapped around the image which is in the right side. Okay, now let's give that also. I will write img, and inside the curly braces I will write float right. Okay, so this float right is for the image. Okay, so I'm telling the image should be in the, it should be in float in right. So float is mean wrapping the content. Okay, and let's even give some margins for that. So margin 0 top, then the left, then the 10 pixel, and then again 10 pixel. Okay, now let's run this. See, okay, now when you see, this image is in the right and with the margin of 0 0 10 10, and this content is wrapped around this. Okay, I hope you got this. So now what's happening, this is wrapped around the image. So if we change this width and height, then we can even see it more clearly. Now let's change its width. So I'll change its width to 300 and height to 40. Okay, so just for an example, right? So let it be anything. See how it is wrapped. It is wrapped around the image. So this is the float. We are telling that the image should be a float. Float in the sense the content should be wrapped around it. So is the content wrapped around it? Yes. So this is the main use for the float. Just to make the content really very attractive. If you have noticed in many of the website, you always see that the content or the image is just be next to the other, or just adjacent to the other, or the content is wrapped like this in our output, right? So even that gives a look. Where, for example, when in some websites like giving donations and all, they always make use of this concepts. Why? Because they will tell that we have conducted these things in our home. Our home in the sense the old age home, the poor child, something like that. In that they will always have the image in the center or something like that, and they tell that yes, we conducted this activity for our children with your money, something like that, right? So in that what will be happen, the content, when the user will read the content, he will even refer the image, right? So it will even give more clarity for the user that what are they trying to say, or what have they done actually, or have they done, or just they have written the for it, just for the namesake they have written it and all. So this will be even more useful to make your content attractive. I have already mentioned you, try to always match your content with your actual products of theme. Okay, so as I told, if it's an orphanage home, something like that, then always try to match your themes. When I even gave you an example for that horror movie also, so always try to match the text, match the design, match the layout with the content or with the actual theme of your website. Okay, so this is about the float. So I hope you got it. Now let's even see a clear. Now when I say clear, I have told it will define the behavior of the float, right? So we are going to give some clear property for some of the float which we have done, and we'll even understand that. Yeah, as I've already told, the clear property is used to control the behavior of the floating elements. So elements after a floating element will flow around it, right? As we saw now. To avoid that, we'll make use of this clear property. Sometimes it may be like that the image should float, but you don't want any wrapped content around it. So to remove that wrapped content, we'll make use of this clear, because it always defines a behavior or sets property for the behavior to define a behavior of the float, right? So here we are going to make use of a clear property, and we are not, we are just going to remove the wrapped content. So to show you the difference, let this be the same itself. Now I'll just copy paste this and I'll do it separately. Okay. Okay. Now I've pasted here, right? And what I'll do is that I'll take this image tag out of this p tag. Okay, now let's first run this. Okay, see, now it's normal. Now what I'm going to do is that now it's in left, right? So now I'm just right. Now I'm just going to give a vice versa. See, now it's in right. So now I'm going to make that property as left only for the second image or this one. And then with the help of the clear property, I'm just going to remove this wrapped content, and that will be displayed below the floated image. Okay, now let's do that. Okay, for this I will specify the a class name for this image, then class. Okay, in this I'll write clear. Okay, clear img. Okay, and the style I will write img dot clear img, and in this I will write float to the left. Okay, so this is the first thing which I have given. So now let's run it. See, it's floated to the left. So first part of the clear is done. Okay, so we have just gone to the left. This is for just showing an example. You can do it with the right, keeping it in the right itself. Okay, and I will just turn to the left. Now I'm going to remove this wrapped content, and this wrapped content will be below this floated image. So for that, I'll even give name class name for this also. Class is equals to, just I'll give clear. Okay, so in this I'll write p dot clear, and in the curly braces I will write clear, and in which side, left, right, something like that, left. Okay, so now this content will be in the left side but below the float. See, now it's below the float. So why? I will again repeat it. Float basically means the what is it, the next element will be wrapped, right, wrapped around the floated element. So when you feel no, I don't want it to be wrapped, but just the image should be floated, you just feel like that, then to remove that wrapped element you will make use of the clear property as I have done. So always do remember the one after the float element. Okay, the one after the element after the float element will always be wrapped around the float element. Okay, so that's the reason this p tag is wrapped around this image tag or around that image. So this is the basic thing for clear. Now let's even go for the clear fix. So here it is, if an element is taller than the element containing it, and it is floated, it will overflow outside of its container. So basically, see, if you think of a container and inside you have a content, okay, for just for 30 pixels, and you want to insert an image inside that content which is of let's see, say it as 50 pixels. So how it will be looking? It will be looking like an overflow, or it will be like it is just above the container, right? So for that, you sometimes you need to fix it inside the box, or you need to enlarge the box. To enlarge the box, will make use of this clear fix. Okay, we can just add the overflow : auto. This is it. Okay, with the help of this property we can do this. So for this clear fix, we'll make use of the property overflow auto. Okay, so now what are we going to do? We'll make a small container. Inside this we'll write just one line content, and then we'll give a image. So the image will be overflowing the box, right? In the second thing, we'll give the property as overflow auto. Then see. Okay, now let's go for that. So in this we will let's have an p tag. Okay, so inside this p tag, right, this is a paragraph for clear fix example. Okay, and I'll create a div tag. Okay, inside this I will have an img tag. Okay, so inside this I'll write bg image.jpg. So let's even give some width, height and all for this. So I will give the width as 100 and the height as 140. Okay, so inside this div I'm going to write some content. So let's write like okay, this is a div tag for clear fix example. Okay, and we'll copy paste this for twice. Okay, so now let's run this. Okay, we got it, right? So see here, I will even show you create a border for this, so it will be really very nice to see the output, or you will understand it very clearly. Okay, so for this, let's create an border. So I'll just give names for this. For this, I'll give a class as clearfix div. Okay, so I'll give a border for that. So div dot clearfix div. Okay, inside this I will write border. Okay, 3 pixel solid of red. Give it as red color. Okay. See, now when you see this, you can clearly see that this image is being overflowed, or it is above this container, that is the div, that is clearfix div class. Okay, so now some may feel no, that this image should be inside this div only, but at the same time this can't be small as this. So we should have the image size as this itself. What we have to do is we have to extend this div container. So for extending this div container, I will make use of the overflow property. So where will I make use of this overflow property? For that, we'll create, we have already created a class, right? In that class, that is the div. Inside this div, that is clearfix div class, I will write overflow, and then I will write auto. So now let's see the output. See, it's inside the box. Now what's happening? I'm saying that the overflow should always, I'm giving the condition as overflow auto. So we are just telling that it should be inside the box, and the box should be of this width, or it should really match with this width. So what, it automatically the box is getting enlarged. So this is the main use of the clearfix or the overflow property. Okay, with the help of this you can just match or just insert the image inside this, and there will be no any overflow like that. Okay, why overflow auto? We are telling it please fix it inside the box itself, so we don't need it to be overflowed out. Okay, okay, now let us see how to create a 2-column grid layout. Okay, okay, so with an example we'll understand this. Okay, and we'll even do some adjustment and see different types in this also. Okay, now let's start. So for this I will first have an h2 tag. Okay, in this I will write 2 equal columns. Okay, so now what are we going to do is we are going to create 2 equal columns. Okay, equal in the sense equal in width and height. Okay, so for that first we'll add an div tag. Okay, in this the basic concept first you are supposed to know here is we'll make use of the row and column concepts and all. Okay, so we are not going to make use of any tags of row and column, just a concept, just for understanding. So for that I'll have a div tag first, and in that I will write class as row. So 2-column grid layout, so there will be just one row, right? So row. So inside that row we'll create two different divs of the same class name as column. Okay, and then inside this class has column, and inside this I'll give some heading. Okay, and I'll write that column 1, and then in the p tag I'll write some content. So here I'll just write content. Okay, so this is the first column. So always when we are saying 2 column, that means one after the other. Okay, not one below the other, one after the other. One below the other means 2 rows. So one after the other becomes 2 columns, which is of 1 row only. So we'll have only one div of class row, but we'll have 2 divs of class column. So inside this class row we'll create 2 divs of same class name as column. Okay, and inside this I'll have an h2 tag, right, column 2, and inside this I'll have a p tag, I'll write content. Okay, now let's save this and run this. Okay, see, we got it like this. Now why are we getting it not one after the other? because we have not used any float concept over here. When we make use of the float, as we know, it will always be wrapped with the other element or the below element. So if we do it with the TR, that is the table row, table data, table heading, in that concept, then this will be really adjacent to other, okay, right? But for when we are not giving such properties and just with the help of a div tag we are doing the two equal columns, so we should need to wrap the next element, which is a float. So for this I'm going to give the class column, I'm going to give that a float. So let's start with it. Okay, so before going for that, let's give a background color for these things so that we can see the difference of two equal ones. Okay, so over here I will write style is equals to background color. Let's give it as, okay, we'll give Xcode. Okay, okay, I'm giving this, and for this style is equals to background color, and here I will give #BBB. Okay, so see here, so both are of different colors. Now we'll wrap them both. For wrapping them both, first let's give an box border box for this. Okay, we'll give the style in the inside the style. For the old website, we'll give a box sizing as border box. Okay, so for old website, so all the universal selector, inside this I'll write box sizing, and inside this I'll write border box. Okay, right. So the next, for making it float, I will write dot column, the class name, and the float property, and the value will be, let's take it as left. Okay, I want it in the left. Okay, and the width of the column I want is of 50 pixels. So 100 pixels, 50%, 100% is the old, right? The old website. So when it's of 50%, then the other one of 50, because see, for both the columns we have given the same class name 50. So for the first also it will give 50, and for the next also 50. 50 plus 50, 100%. Okay, and then I want a padding of 10 pixels, and let's even give a height of 200 pixels. Okay, now let's see this. So when you see this, you will be able to see them next one after the other. Okay, you got this, right? So it's just one after the other, there's no difference over here. So it's of 10 pixel, and it's of 50%. No, it's not of 50%. No. Okay, now let's see. Okay, see, it's being covered the full, and this is of 50%, and again this is of also 50%. Okay, so here we have given an heading, and then it is in the paragraph tag. So this is of two equal columns. So now you can even feel that no, I want one in equal and the other one should not be equal, right? One should be smaller and the other one should be a bit bigger one, like that. Then in that case you can even make them also. Okay, I will create another one just below it, and I will show you that so that you can see the comparison. Okay, so see, now we have given for two equal columns, right? So first one was here. So now let's go for the two unequal. So again I have an H2. Then write two unequal columns. Okay, so inside this again we'll have one div tag of class name as row. Okay, row, let's give it as 2. Inside this I will have another div tag with the class name column 2, and inside this I will have an heading. Okay, and let's write 1. Okay, and the p tag, that is content. Now let's create another div with the same class name as column 2. Okay, inside this again an heading column 1, oh sorry, it's 2, and a paragraph tag with content. Okay. Okay, now we gave 50-50, right? Now we'll not do that. We'll do something else. For now, we'll write let the column, dot column, and all. We'll give the same properties first. Okay. So the universal selector is already there. Now let's do for the second. That is dot column 2. Okay, for this I will again give the float as left. Okay, and then I will even give the width as, no, not the width now. Okay, why, I will tell you, right? So padding as 10 pixel and the height as 300 pixel. Okay, done with it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this as left and right columns. Okay, now how will I do this as left and right columns? First, we'll make use as the class name, will change it from column to column and the space that is left. So now how it is, see, now basically we have just written column or column 2. Okay, now I'll write here column 2, then a space, then a left. So it is given 2 column names, right? So the first column 2 is already assigned with float, padding and height. Now I'll even assign something for this left, and in the same way I'll even assign here right. Okay, got it. So now what I'm going to do is, so column 2 is a class name as well as the left is also a class name, right? Now I'm going to use this left class name. So I'll write dot left, and in that, inside that curly braces, see, now I want the left column to be smaller. So let it take it as let's take the width as 30%. Okay, and I want the right to be of the remaining is the 70%. Okay, now let's run this. See, now when I give the background color, you'll be able to see it more clearly. So here I'll give style is equals to background color as ash AAA. Okay, and in the next one I'll write style is equals to background color as ash BBB. Okay, now let's run this. Okay, see, now this is of 30 and this is of 70. So why I have written it separately? If in case I just wrote this with over here inside this dot column as I have written over here, this 50, then if I even would have written here like 30 or 70, then both of the columns will be of same percent. For example, if I wrote here width is equals width and a colon of 30%, then both the columns will be of 30% only. That is, of both the columns will be of this size only. Okay, because here see 50 50, so it became 100. So 30 30 just of 60. But we want of two unequal, right? So when it's unequal, you have to supposed to write it separately. That's the reason I wrote it separately with the help of the dot left and dot right. Okay, so we got the output like this. So this is for the unequal columns and this is for the columns. To write it as unequal, always try to give the naming as column and then a left or right as we have done over here. Okay, so you can even access it with this column too, or you can even access it with left. So with the left, I have made it 30 pixel, and with the class name as right, I have made it 70 pixel. Okay, so this is the basic concept of the two unequal columns. Now let's even go for the 3 ones. Okay, 3 equal and 3 unequal, and let's even see for 3 columns in grid layout. Okay, now as we saw for 2 column grid layout, now let's even see for 3 column grid layout. Okay, so for this also we'll see the examples, that is the we'll create 3 equal columns and then 3 unequal columns, something like that, and we'll even understand this more and more. Okay, so now let's go for the examples. Okay, for the 3 grid layout. Okay, so for this we'll just do some changes in this and make the work more simpler. Okay, so in this 2 I'll write 3. Okay, and I'll add another column in this place. Okay, and I'll change this to 3, and even I'll change the color from BBB to CCC. Okay, now we got it. So now what's here? This is the equal one, right? Now let's save this and run this. Okay, see now what's happening here. Please see it very carefully, else you'll not understand what's going on over here. Now this full website is of 100, right? So now what we gave 50 50. So ultimately the next one will also be 50 because the style is given in common over here. If you see here, right? For the column, for the class which has the name as column. So the next 50 is going down because the website is of 100%. So it's already the first two columns are already covering the 50 plus 50 100. So the next 50 is going down. Now we'll divide this 100 in 3. So let's take it as, if we see, take it as 30, 30, 30, then it's just 90. So let's take it as 33.33%. Okay. So for that, I'll just change it over here. That 33.33%. Now let's save this and run this. See, I got it in the same place. Okay, 33.33 means we get 99.99. So just one, it will be adjusted in the left or right as it needs or as a default. Okay. So when you see this is the common one. So this became a 3-1. So why are we making use of this 2 columns, 3 columns? If you would have noticed in above the footer parts in many of the websites, they always give their address, then the contact, then follow links. If they don't like the footer or if they want it to be in a detail, they always make use of this 3 equal or unequal columns. You should have always noticed this in some of the other website, or else please go through some of the website. You will be really noticing this. So what happens is, in this place they will write the address and the company name. In the second they will write the, let's take it as the email, the and the office numbers or available time, something like that, and in this some copyrights or some other content. So for that this 3 will be used, even the 2. So in such places where you want, where you're just, the content will be of the same concept. Okay, the address, as we told, the address, the follow link, and some of the other, all the 3 are concentrating on the information only, but they want it to be segregated or separated. For that they will make use of this concept. Okay, so this is used for, just as I have told, for graphic purpose of making the website more attractive. So now as we did it for the same, let's even do 3 unequal. Okay, we have already having that also, right? So we done for 3 equal columns, right? Now we'll change this also to 3 unequals. Okay. Okay, now again we'll copy paste the first part of it and we'll make some changes to this. So see here, what we have done, the first one is column left, right, we have already there, right? Now we'll again copy paste the last one. Now in this place, in spite of right, I'll change it to middle, and in spite of, okay, this will be right. So left, then the right, that is, let's see here, left, then the middle, and then the right. Okay. So now what are we going to do? An unequal, 3 unequal columns. So for already, let's even change this to CCC. Okay. So everything is set. Let's change the column name. Okay. So column 1 with the background color AAA, then column 2 with background color BBB, and column 3 with background color CC. Don't change the class first name, just the left, middle, and right is being changed. Okay. So now we'll even do the changes in the upper part. So left, I have given 30. Now what we are going to do, we are going to give 3 different percentage for 3. Okay. So in spite of giving 3 or for all the 3, I will just do like this. For right, then for left, for both I will give it as, let's take it as 25 pixels. So it will be really equal. Okay. And for the middle, I'm going to give it as 50. Okay. Now let's run this. I have saved it. Let's run this. See, I got a 3 unequal. So you can even change these both also as you need it. Okay. So what is happening here? I will again change it. So even this will be useful where, so as the same concept, when your address or some of the main content is big, then give it in the middle, or you can give this, the first column as the bigger one, something like that. You can keep on changing this. So this is a 3 unequal. Let's even see something else. Now I have given 25 for both, right? So now let's give 30 and 20. So now we don't have the right one, just left. Then I'll change this to 20. Then the dot right will be of width as 30. And the percent sign. Okay. Now let's save this and run this. Okay. Again, this is totally a 3. All the 3 are unequal. So this is 3 unequal column. So always do remember, we'll make use of this types of columns and all where the information is of about only one topic. So we can even take an example of some of the other products. So for example, a product like a fan. Okay, let's take a fan. So we are saying in one column that it has three wings or three plates or two plates. Even we have of two plates, right? That, and in this we are writing it's of which color and how it looks and which is it is suitable for which ceilings. And here we'll write the cost or the size of the fan, like that, something like that, right? So the all the three columns consist of the same content or the same actual concept of the content of three different things. Okay, right? So in such a place it can be used. So this is again a layout where you will can display the content in this way, in a neat way, instead of making it like if you have noticed in some of the website they even write it like this. For let's say same example, fan rate, and then they give the rate, then the fan colors, then they just list down the colors, then the size, then the which all is it is suitable for and which all ceiling. In such a place it will be one below, it will not grab the attention of the user, but when you give it in this tabular form or in this graphical form, it will really grab the user's attention. So I have already mentioned you, I'm again mentioning you this point, always try to connect the themes, connect the layouts, connect the fonts with your content actual thing. Okay, actually what is the content all about? So connect these designs with your content. So all the users will always search for a connection between your concept and the content which we have presented. So may always keep that in your mind. Make use of tabular formats for different fonts and always create a best and a suitable one. So this is all about the three. I even showed you about the two equal columns, then the three equal columns, then two unequal and three unequal columns. Okay, so make use of this and make your website more and more attractive and user friendly.